From an undisclosed location somewhere in North America, this is your weekly live Truth Be Told Minuteman report. And I am Robert Hensley, your Truth Be Told Minuteman. Welcome, everyone. Another week. It is a little crazy here. We've got snow on the East Coast. We've got tsunami warnings on the West Coast. It's like the world is set against us. So I hope wherever you are that you are either cold and not wet. Cold and not wet. That's my wish for everyone today. So, listen, again, articles, reading things, going down little rabbit holes, because that's what I love to do. And went down a new rabbit hole about, at first it started about pirates, just pirates, we read a lot, or we remember mostly the pirates that we're told about, right? Like Blackbeard, Sir Francis Drake, Captain Kidd, Calico Jack, all men. But did you know that the world's most successful pirates were women, right? Ladies of the sea, right? There were people like Mary Read, Grace O'Malley, and Ching Shai. She was arguably the most successful pirate ever, like out of anybody, right? She had a fleet of like 12,000 ships, her own army. She, and when she was ready to give it up, she went to the emperor of China and was like, dude, here's some money. I'll pay off my debts and you let me sit over here and I'll open a gambling establishment and go into my old age. And that's what she did. She ended up being like a really prosperous businesswoman. But in the middle of all of this, right, one name kind of stood out to me, and that was Rachel Wall. Why did it stand out? Because she was American, right? Rachel Wall was the very first female American pirate, right? So let's jump into this. So here we are. I love this little artwork I kind of created. America's first female pirate, the true story of Rachel Wall, right? Isn't that cute? I like that anyway. I got bored. So, born Rachel Schmidt to a devoutly Presbyterian family in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And if you've been listening to the show for the past couple of months, you know that we did a little story about Carlisle. And she was born in Carlisle around 1760. Now, that's before America declared its independence. She left home at the age of 16, which would have been the same year that America did declare its independence, 1776. Because she wanted to live on the waterfront. She had dreams of the open seas. She met a fisherman by the name of George Wall, who actually rescued her on the waterfront. She was being attacked by a group of girls, and he stepped in and saved her. They ended up married, and then they traveled together. They went to Philadelphia, then to New York City, and eventually found their way to Boston. And once in Boston, things kind of fell apart. George took off and left Rachel alone. So she took a job as a domestic servant in Boston's very wealthy Beacon Hill neighborhood. And by her own words, she said she was very contented. But then in 1781, George comes back, right? And it sounds to me like this George guy was actually probably a bad influence. But George returns, and he's got 6 buddies with him, and he convinces Rachel to leave her job as a servant and come on a trip with him and his friends. They're going to steal a boat and become pirates, right? So together they all steal this boat called the Essex. And they became pirates in the Atlantic. They preyed on vessels off the New Hampshire coast and the Isle of Shoals. What they would do is they would lure these targets in by pretending that the Essex was a damaged ship. So after storms, they would have Rachel stand on the deck, waving her hands and trying to call in passing vessels. And when those vessels would dock with the Essex to give help, they were killed, and all of their goods were stolen. So Rachel and the Essex crew, they successfully captured 12 boats. They stole $6,000 cash, which is approximately the same as about $123,000 today, and an indeterminate amount of valuables, and they killed 24 sailors between 1781 and 1782, right? So now in 1782, why the reign of the Essex stopped was because George and most of the crew drowned when the ship really did sink in a storm. Rachel survived, and she returned to Boston. She returned to domestic service, but she continued to steal from ships. She was sneaking aboard these ships while they were docked in the harbor, and basically plundering the crew while they were sleeping. And this is a story from her own, in her own words. Sometime in the spring of 1787, not being able to ascertain the exact time, I happened to go on board a ship lying at the Long Wharf in Boston. The captain's name I cannot recall, but think he was a Frenchman. On my entering the cabin, the door of which was not fastened, and finding the captain and mate asleep in their beds, I hunted about for plunder and discovered under the captain's head a black silk handkerchief containing upwards of 30 pounds in gold, crowns, and small change, on which I immediately seized the booty and decamped therewith as quickly as possible. Right? So she was stealthy. However, she did get a little bit of a record, right? So Rachel racked up several charges for petty theft and larceny, but it was a crime that she claimed she was innocent of that was her demise. So on March 18th, 1789, Rachel Wall is accused of stealing the bonnet, the shoes, and buckles from a 17-year-old Margaret Bender who was walking along the road. Rachel was arrested, and this is the thing, the accusation was that she beat her, robbed her, and tried to rip out her tongue. Okay, so Rachel's then arrested for highway robbery, and during her trial, she denied the theft and claimed that she had never seen Margaret, but she did admit to several acts of piracy. She was tried on September 10th, 1789 for highway robbery, but she had requested to be tried as a pirate and maintained that she had never killed anyone. However, she was found guilty of robbery and sentenced to be hanged on October 8th, 1789. Rachel's last words were, and again, this is a quote from Rachel, "Into the hands of the Almighty God I commit my soul, relying on his mercy, and die an unworthy member of the Presbyterian Church in the 29th year of my age." So Rachel Wall is not only America's first female pirate, but she also holds the title of being the last, right? She was the last occasion of a woman being hanged in the state of Massachusetts. And that, friends, is the tale of Rachel Wall, true story, America's first female pirate. And then, when I was in the rabbit hole, the one thing that I was thinking about is, what does a female pirate wear? What does that look like? We've all seen, I forgot the name of the movie all of a sudden. Gina Davis, directed by Rennie Harling. She was a pirate. Can't remember what it was called. Anyway, great movie. Always liked it. But anyway, she was very much dressed as a man and then dressed as a woman when she needed to. And as it turns out, historically, that's exactly the case. There are many accounts of female pirates when they were in battle or there was work to be done, they were dressed as men. And when they were in their leisure and when they felt up to it, they would dress as women. So it was really just a question of what they felt like wearing, which I think is fantastic. And why we don't talk about women pirates more, I have no idea. There's literally a story, and I'm sorry right now that I'm not remembering the name, and I should have written it down. But there was this pirate. She had literally given birth, right, in her suite, like on the ship, and they get attacked. There are people with swords, and there are people fighting on the deck, and she gets so pissed off that she is being interrupted and that all of this is happening while she's been giving birth, that she throws the baby on her hip, grabs her saber, and basically almost single-handedly wipes out the other crew that is trying to attack her ship, right? Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Apparently, that is true. So that is today's episode of Truth Be Told Minuteman Report. Thank you so much for joining me. Robert Hensley, your Truth Be Told Minuteman. Remember that you get 3 chances for content from Truth Be Told each week. Me on Mondays at 3 p.m. Pacific, Bonnie Burkert with Truth Be Told Transformations on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific, and Tony Sweet with the original Truth Be Told live on Fridays at 3 p.m. Pacific. And just in case you're not really great with the time change, 3 p.m. Pacific and 6 p.m. Eastern, same thing. So watch us. If you love the content, please feel free to like, follow, share, subscribe, right? If you don't like the content so much, share it with your enemies. Maybe they'll like it. And and if you're looking for really great things, like I know that if you're following us on socials, look at our website, www.truthbetoldworldwide.com. The other day was National Sticker Day, and it just so happens we have really great sticker sheets that have this really cute alien character wearing a Truth Be Told sheet. It's kind of cool. Anyway, I'll leave that to you, and have a great week, and we will see you next time.